of World Championship Wrestling. Watch it. Watch it.
That is exactly what you do. You watch it, watch it, watch it. That's what you do. Even when you're in the audience, you watch it, watch it, watch it. Because that's
I have missed Nikita Koloff and his Russian sickle on David Crockett.
Well, we finally got it back tonight.
Okay, Rodney, World Championship Wrestling, August 10th, 1985. World Championship Wrestling as seen on WTBS. Take it away.
They open up the program with the now former United States champion Magnum TA, because now Tully Blanchard is the new U.S. champion, and Baby Doll is back with Tully Blanchard as well. Dusty Rhodes is along with him. America's team talking about the Ole and Arn Anderson. And, of course, Dusty and Magnum T on top of their game in that one. Then we end up with match number 1 of Ron Bass making a turn. If you remember, we didn't get to see it on here, but Ron Bass and Buddy Landell has a difference of opinion, because Buddy says he doesn't like Ron Bass around because he cramps his style. And Ron Bass cramps most people's style, I have to admit. Yeah. In the match is Ron Bass versus Gerald Finley in this one. What did you think about it, Brent?
I thought it was a good match. I think it was one of Ron Bass's best matches. I think it really was, because it was quick and to the point. I enjoyed it, but people are still booing him. Did the people in Atlanta not know that he was the good guy yet?
Well, I don't think that was so apparent.
The way that it was done was in no way, shape, or form to get sympathy. It was just a disagreement of Landale saying a derogatory remark about him. And now he's going to go against the national champion, Black Bart. That's what he's going for. And, of course,
let me ask you this question. Did Black Bart not cramp his style?
No, because they apparently went to the same wrestling school together.
Oh, okay. I got you.
I could be wrong about that.
Plus, you never wanted to get in a verbal debate with Black Bart because you would drown.
That's right. In the end, it's Ron Bass winning with the claw, the iron claw, as I think they called it. And, of course, the match was much better. Interview with Jim Crockett, president of Jim Crockett Promotions, and he's talking about the championship series. And today on the program, the U.S. champion, new champion, Tully Blanchard defending against Terry Taylor. And, of course, upcoming matches with Magnum TA. Also, for next week, the World Tag Team titles go on the line as the Rock and Roll Express defends against the Rising Sun, managed by James J. Dillon. And, of course, that will come up. Of course, then they have an interview with James J. Dillon, always a class act about the Rock and Roll Express and their chance with the Rising Sun with the World Tag Team titles on the line. Michael Barr says Ron Bass cramps his own style. Okay, now, Championship Wrestling Championship Series continues. The U.S. Championship on the line. The new champion, Tully Blanchard, defending the title against Terry Taylor. And, of course, Baby Doll is back with Tully Blanchard in this one. Jack, what do you think about this one?
Oh, man. This was a good match. Really good. And Baby Doll, wow.
This match showed, I think, that how good Tully Blanchard is and how well he produces the match, puts together the match, and just on the fly, not in the dressing room, just on the fly, just listening to the fans react. And Terry Taylor, he may not have been able to do the interview, but let me tell you, he was able to get out there and wrestle. There ain't no doubt about that.
Yep.
I thought the match was tremendous. I thought this match was just probably one of the best matches I think I've seen on World Championship Wrestling so far.
Yep. I agree with that.
I absolutely agree with that as well. In the end, it's Terry Taylor down the left to the wire, putting on the figure 4 on Tully Blanchard. Baby Doll in the ring, but apparently the ring, I didn't hear the bell, but she was standing in the middle of the ring at this point, jumping on Terry Taylor, is distracted. Tully Blanchard attacks, gets him the slingshot suplex at the end, leaves him laying. I like it when it happens like that, especially to Terry Taylor.
Did the time limit, they have the time limit on the TV title. Did the time limit run out? I think that's what happened, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'll tell you, well, they say that officially they said the time limit, it was a time limit draw. And, of course, the still U.S. champion is Tully Blanchard. Interview with Ole and Arn Anderson. The National Tag Team Champions, talking about Magnum TA and Sam Houston. They hurt Sam Houston. I wish we could have seen that. That would have been fantastic. Yep. I don't think I remember seeing that. And then, of course, talking about Dusty Rhodes and, of course, the long-time feud with the Andersons and Dusty Rhodes and then this situation as well. What did you think about it, Brent?
Arn did a great interview because he said, I told you twice, Magnum TA. I told you twice not to be by yourself. So it's on you. What happened to you? I thought that was great Anderson stuff. And then Ole. Yep. Ole is just Ole.
He was on fire. Ole was on fire. And for whatever reason, and here comes another Anderson, he says, and Ric Flair comes out and takes over the interview. And I guess Ole says, well, if you don't want to talk to us anymore, we'll just leave. Forget you. And left Ric Flair out there. Flair talks about Harley Race, who's in the ring, the Missouri State champion at the time, and Nikita Koloff, and he runs down the whole gauntlet as they head to the ring with match number 3, a Missouri State champion, Harley Race against Jim Jeffers. Jack, what was going on here?
It was a short match. It just proved, how tough Harley was, especially since he had to struggle to get that suplex in. But but it proved the point that Harley's the man.
But I like that. I thought that was spectacular that he goes and picks him up. He can't get him, so he goes to pick him up again. I thought that put a little bit of that reality into it. So that kind of stuff would happen. It wasn't as fluid as Sid Vicious. I hate to say anything that he says is correct, but he said what's wrong with wrestling today. It is too written, too right. Back then, and I think that just came over with such a reality-based wrestling, which was great.
And the question is here: did you notice how Tony was talking about how Harley Race? It just seems strange with him not being the world champion. It's how many years he had been world champion. Then all of a sudden, in for the rescue! Here comes David Crockett, but Ric Flair is the world champion. I love that. Then I think the best interview of the entire show, Paul Jones, Abdullah the Butcher, the Barbarian. Not sure what was going on, Brent, but it seemed like that Tony was being picked on by the Barbarian. What did you think?
Yeah, at one point, what did he do? Did he spit on him? Because he certainly acted like he did.
All I kept seeing, he kept bumping into him. And he kept, every time he would talk and move, he would move closer. And he was like moving in on him. He kept looking back, kept bumping into him. What I noticed.
And Abdullah eats his tie, and Tony Schiavone says, "Hey, that's a new tie,
brand new tie."
Tony was great. He was really, really good. Like I said, and then Paul Jones talking about Jimmy Valiant. I don't know if you're watching the fonts or the promos of where they're going to be for the week that are coming up. I noticed that they were in a lot of places like Lexington, Kentucky, which I'm assuming, since they were saying a defense by Ric Flair, must have been against Harley Race. Against Jerry Lawler. But if you'll notice, they go to Pensacola, and this is the beginning of Jim Crockett's turn on every single person that was a member of the National Wrestling Alliance. Every last one of them.
But they ran that card down for Lexington, Kentucky. Yeah. And I don't remember Jerry Lawler being on that card.
He was not. They said that then Ric Flair would defend the World Heavyweight Championship, but he never did really say who he was going to defend. I just assumed that they said, well, we'll let you have one guy on the card, and it was probably just Lawler because everybody else was their people. Yeah. So that was one of those things. You're either with us or so what? We don't care. And that's the way it was. Like I said, this is the beginning of when World Class starts pulling out, Continental pulls out, and they don't pull out. They just had the world champion taken from them. That's just bottom line there. That match number 4, Brody Chase against Nikita Koloff with Ivan Koloff in the corner. Jack, what did you think about this one?
I thought I was glad I wasn't the one taking that clothesline. It was good. It's a good match. Nikita does not have bad matches. Yeah. If he has, I've not seen one yet. He was just so good at what he did, and to be so young in the business is what amazes me. Every time I look back and see the stuff that he did, and had he not, and I understand why he left the business at the time that he did, because his wife was so sick, but I just feel like that would have been one of those guys that they would have pushed at the very top for a good while.
Yeah, Nikita, spectacular. And, I didn't. This is at the time I didn't know Nikita was as good as he is, but I go back and watch it now.
Yep.
He's just so good. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe it's because people today are so bad. Maybe that's.
You said it.
You watched Raw too, huh? Okay.
You said it. All right. So after the match is the interview with Nikita Koloff and Ivan Koloff about Ric Flair. In upcoming matches, of course, again, they announced the championship series for next week. Rock and Roll Express gets a Rising Sun for the World Tag Team Championship. And then match number 5, it is the Rock and Roll Express against Keith Eric and Alan Martin. Cornette's at the desk. What did you think about this one, Brett?
Well, now, I'll be honest with you. I frontwards it up to the end of the match.
Was it a surprise?
I just did. It had nothing to do with the match was better. Nothing. I just did. But I'm going to tell you something. That drop kick at the end of that was a brutal drop kick this time. Yeah, they didn't get that poor. It was Keith Eric got the double drop kick.
Eric got it. Yeah,
they got him good in the chest with that. Both of them did with that drop kick. Go back and watch that in slow mo.
Yeah, well, they got it from the right angle this time, I must say. I'll just tell you, Cornette was talking about their matches coming up, the Midnight Express against the Rock and Roll Express. That's coming up in the arenas. And I'm with y'all. I don't think they should have taken it from the position that they had never seen each other.
Yeah,
I think that was insulting, because we got five states that had Mid-South Wrestling, and to act like that, well, none of that ever happened is, I think, ridiculous.
Well, we've talked about this before. When you do that, now you've got 5 states that go, well, wait a minute now. So now you've smartened up 5 states what wrestling is.
Right.
When if you would have just said they wrestled each other, had a big feud in Mid-South, it would have been a whole lot better. Plus the fact they go right back and do the same thing they did in Mid-South Wrestling, where Jim Cornette gets his face put in a cake. I don't think it was Rock and Roll that did it, but that smartens up the fans too. People can get mad at Vince McMahon all they want, but they were doing stuff just as bad at that point in time that could hurt the wrestling business as well. You shouldn't have been doing that stuff. And Jim Cornette talks about how bad wrestling is today. He should have stepped in and said, no, we're not doing that again. We just did that.
They were doing that like they were still a territory system.
Yeah.
With that mindset, which worked in the territory system.
Yeah.
But now you're on a national stage, and you can't be doing the same things over and over again. At least without, like you said, acknowledging, what came before. Because, I don't care what you want to say, fans aren't stupid.
No.
And you should never treat them as such. And I think I would have easily have said, you know what, I've got a little video I like to show, and it would have been that with the straight jacket. I would have showed that. Said, and this is what we do to the Rock and Roll Express. And because Mid-South really showed nothing of any of that as far as the payoff, the blow-offs. They never showed any of it, which is always good business, by the way. Always good business. In the end, at the last of this, Black Bart and James J. Dillon close the program. A new national heavyweight belt. All of them not looking well now. It looks like a different color of the World Television belt. But anyway, that's not the point. Black Bart has a new national belt. Talking about Ronnie Bass. Talking about that Ronnie Bass from there. And that closed out the program, World Championship Wrestling.
I love Rick Harris to death, but if you've heard one of his interviews, you've heard him. All you got to do is a different name in there.
He talked about Ronnie Bass, and he talked about Terry Taylor.
James J. Dillon was doing a great job at the interview, and he interrupted him. As assistant booker, I would have erased his name. He interrupted me. He would have been in the Florida territory.
If you know, honestly, all Dylan at that point was doing, you could tell he was the one putting the. He's got the TV. He's the one coordinated. He's just out there long enough to do what he needs to do. Throw it to the other guy, let him do the talk, and then back in the back to run the show again. Dusty's there. I'm not saying that Dusty's not helping put the show together, but James J. Dillon is the one organizing.
Hey, now remember,
it's supposed to be.
Dusty Rhodes, Magnum TA, had to fly out. That's what they told you at the beginning of this. By the way, I think it was the morning show that's on this video. They had a guy from the Atlanta Braves on there. Did y'all see this?
Yep.
And I think they came there that morning to go, listen, there's only one American team, and that's the Braves. And kind of awesome a little bit on that show that Dusty and Magnum TA were the American team as well. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to point out before we got off here was that if you've watched this and you watch the for the air date, the first hour is the morning show, and the morning show that's on this same episode was tremendous. It was some of the best stuff I can remember seeing from them. So this, you get two completely separate shows, more or less, but man, it was good from start to finish. And I absolutely go back and watch that first hour. We're not talking about it per se, but go back and watch that first hour. If nothing else, listen to Jim Cornette's commentary during the Midnight Express match. It was the funniest stuff. They're in there doing serious stuff, but Cornette's putting comedy in there where it worked.
But now let's remember, though, when Cornette speaks, he never did comedy in his stuff.
Jimmy lied just a little bit.
All right, we will look at World Championship Wrestling again the next episode. Now, I have not looked and seen what shows are available. I don't know if the 17th is available or not. It could or could not be, but if not, we'll move on to the next show, whatever that is, on the World Championship Wrestling. And if you're watching us, give us that big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.